to the trucking module. From the quickest menu, just enter a T from the keyboard a few times, cover down to the trucking, enter your enter key. And this module, basically we have hauling transactions and then do monthly updates. But there's the initial part is the setup. This would be when you set up the gravel pits where you're hauling, rock pits where you're hauling from. And you set up each individual pit that you haul from and how many pounds per yard or ton. This is set on a per yard basis. So there's 2,700 pounds per yard that's loaded. Depends on how the quarry loads and how they count or measure their load. And their extraction cost per yard in this particular case, 60 cents per yard. And the mileage from that quarry to the central location where they're hauling to. And generally that will be your main stockpiles. Also, if you want to classify that rock or gravel as a particular type of inventory number, and the inventory location, if you have them set up 1 through 2000, then also the fiscal year that this quarry is active in. So if this were active in 2010, we would change it to 2010 to keep it active. Now, after you set up the quarries, then you have set up for the trucking companies out of those quarries. And we'll set up a trucking company here with the proper name, address, and their zip code and all that. Then once you set up the trucking company, then you can set up their individual trucks under that particular trucking company. So you set up the truck and assign it to whatever company, and if there's an overage rate per mile, you'd enter it per there. Because you're setting up the quarries at the trucking rates. So that kind of covers that setup. It's a fairly extensive setup depending on how many quarries and how many various trucking companies you work with. So once you have the setups made, and you can set up the new fiscal years also. You go to the hauling transaction, and we'll just take a look at one of the hauling transactions. This will be the ticket number the quarry uses, the date it was hauled on, the pit name that the load was pulled out of, the miles from that pit to the main stockpiles, the extraction price the quarry is charging, like 50 cents per yard, and the inventory location, if you classify it as an inventory number, the type of rock, quality of rock, and the truck number that's hauling it. It's another lookup table to go drill down into the trucks. And any supplemental rate you pay per mile, sometimes you may get into a situation when fuel costs go up dramatically, and then the trucking companies negotiate rate increases, and this would be that supplemental rate per mile. The gravel gross and trucking gross normally is the same. It's the total gross that the truck is weighed after it's loaded. The tare is roughly the truck weight off of that. And then any supplemental mileage is paid over and above this rate per mile. And you also can show it being hauled to a particular road in your city or county, or you can leave that blank if it's just being hauled to a stockpile, or you can set up a stockpile to show the load going there. So basically, once you have your transactions made for the month, then you do a monthly update. This posts all the tickets across that are set up to charge a particular road, or charge your load to a particular road. The reports basically cover the trucking companies, so you can do a trucking company report showing hauls and costs. You can do a pit report by the pit, by the loads of gravel out of the pit and the total tonnage in yards. By the trucking company, if you do fuel adjustment costs, you can run a report on fuel adjustment costs, and individual ticket report and a fuel adjustment report. This one's sorted by company versus this one's sorted by trucking. So that pretty much covers. There's a help button, that explains, its PDF file explains how this module operates, and it operates in conjunction. It's a module of the overall road and bridge system. So you may or may not have use for this module. If you do, and you do deal with a lot of various third-party tracking companies and third-party pits, it helps keep all that sorted out. So if you have any questions, give us a call or email. Next week we'll be covering the unpaid invoices module. It's a module that with a couple of clicks you can look at all your unpaid invoices, pulls them up real fast.